The following recording is a replay of an interview I did for the Autumn of Healing Summit in October 2024, which was host to over 100 experts in healing from around the world. This summit was organized by Matthias and Doris Badner, and I had the privilege of being involved in their 2023 summit as well, called the Network to Heal Summit. I highly recommend you subscribe to their newsletter at matthiasbadner.de so you can be notified of any future summits. Matthias and Doris' summits are world-renowned, and every year you'll find the world's forerunners in health and healing speaking at their events, such as Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. So be sure to subscribe at www.matthiasbadner.de to be notified of any future events. That's MATHIASBERNER.de. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Autumn of Healing Summit. And I have the privilege today of interviewing, I think for the third or fourth time, Dr. Paul Theriault. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Eugenie. How are you?
Hi, like I said before we start recording, whenever I get to talk to you, I'm just so excited. I love picking your brilliant mind, and I never walk away from a conversation with you without feeling inspired and learning something new. And I love how you were always just pushing the boundaries of homeopathy and making us question things. And that's why when Matthias said, Eugenie, I need some people for the Autumn of Healing Summit, you were one of the first people that I emailed. So I'm excited for our talk. And actually, after interviewing you 3 or 4 times, I now know to pronounce your surname Theriault.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm always eager to speak.
Oh, incredible.
Mhm.
Do you maybe want to tell us just a little bit about yourself for those listeners? Because this is the great thing with Autumn of Healing Summit. There's people from right around the world. Do you just quickly want to give us a little rundown of who you are and what you do?
Oh, okay. I am a naturopathic doctor and I practice in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm a general practitioner. I don't really specialize in everything. Like the one time I did specialize in something like various stuff, I got super bored. And so now I treat a little bit of everything. And you never know what's going to come in the door. Is it going to be Lyme? Is it going to be a mold thing? Is it going to be someone that just needs a cranial adjustment? Or is it going to be someone that just needs lifestyle stuff? Or is it going to be someone coming in and needs a homeopathic? Or is it going to be some combination of all of these? You never quite know. So I do a lot of things and I treat a lot of things. And I'm just happily living my life in central Calgary.
See, I didn't know that you did cranial adjustments. I know you do lots of stuff, but I didn't know that you can do that as well. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, there are things you can do with a cranial adjustment that you will never ever get with a remedy. And when you get the cranium all balanced out and everything, like it's just wonderful.
And okay, this is totally off topic, but this is just for my own personal knowledge. Can you
Mhm.
use remedies to make the cranial adjustment easier?
Sometimes the way I studied craniopathy or biocraniopathy that was developed by Robert Boyd, even though I never got to meet him. He died in 2015. So his procedures are actually very quick and very rapid. So it's when in cranial work, you'd be spending like an hour and a half with someone. With Dr. Boyd's technique, it's like 2 minutes. And I'm a busy practitioner. I don't have an hour and a half to spend with people. And people don't have an hour and a half to pay me. I'm expensive. But I do have 2 or 3 minutes to spend with people. And I've never had problems with adjustments not holding or adjustments not going and everything when I use that technique. So I don't do it as much, but I do find that they tend to hold better if you get them on a good remedy. So that is the core of what I do. Is I'm married to homeopathy, but it's an open marriage. I am at heart a vitalist. I use all of the things that are in harmony with the vital force, and I find that they all reinforce each other. A remedy will work better if a person is off their food intolerances, if they're drained, if their cranium is good, if their visceral mechanics are also very good, if they're detoxed, if they're doing hydro, if they're doing all that stuff, then a remedy will work all the better.
Amazing. That's so true. Now, I just threw it at you when I said, I want you to come and speak on this summit. And I said, Paul, just come talk to us. And you've just said that you were talking about the potential of homeopathy today. So I don't even know what you're going to be presenting to us. I know you've worked on some pretty crazy cool remedies recently. So I'm hoping some of those will be thrown in there as well. But would you like to share your screen and then jump into sharing your wisdom with us? Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Okay, you can see my screen?
I can see it perfectly.
All right, so here are some pictures of me. I suppose I should throw in some pictures of Hendrix now. So if anyone follows me on social media, it used to be just all selfies of me with famous naturopathic doctors and people. And now it's all just pictures of my nephew Hendrix and my niece Marley, and yeah, they're awesome.
They're very cute.
So if anyone wants to see me, my website is drpaulterrio.com. And I've got a little section there with publications, which has got a bunch of my triturations that I publish for free and all my books and everything. And I have an author spotlight on lulu.com.
And so many books. How does
Oh,
somebody
I
that as
know.
young as you put together so many books? I just don't know.
I've been really kicking my own butt over being so slow with the birds book. The birds, it's coming. It's almost done. I've got maybe 15 more monographs, and then you all are going to send me Cassowary when it's all done, and I'm going to put it in there. And then I've just got to write the introduction, then it's done. So it's almost done. And it's 750 pages right now. So I'm like, all right, I got to squeeze it all into 750 pages. Otherwise, my publishing thing just gets wonky. I don't know how this happened, but it did. So this is my refuge tree. I made this. I've studied a lot with Tibetans. And there's this tradition in Tibet of making a refuge tree of all of your teachers and everything. So this is most of mine. So you can see here, a lot of the people that ended up teaching me, like Nadia and Alex Gelman and Kim Kalina and Kate Birch and Michal Yakir and some of my naturopathic teachers like Jim and Jared and Letitia and everything, and my auricular ones and everything. And it's just, I really like this. This is a fun exercise that I did. So
That's
anyway.
beautiful. I always think it's really important to acknowledge where you've come from as well and acknowledge those teachers. That's something that I'm really passionate about. So I like that you've done that.
Yeah. No, it's a fun little exercise. And right here in the middle is an artwork by my friend Sue, who's passed away. She passed away right before COVID. And then that is a healthy human, like a really, actually, fully healthy human. And it's the cover of one of my books. So I really like that picture. So here is this person, and all of these people are helping me get to this healthy human. So here's my little osteopathic teachers and the Carroll lineage and homeopathy and nutrition and auricular, and then some more naturopathic philosophy people and everything. So it's been very nice.
I want to do one too now. That sounds awesome.
Oh, it's a very fun little exercise. I should do one for meditation for myself too. But regardless, the question is, what can we do with homeopathy? And just usually, what can we do with homeopathy?
Oh, there's nothing that we can't do with homeopathy that I've realized, especially after interviewing over 200 homeopaths on the Homeopathy Hangout podcast. I just feel that the potential is limitless. And the more I learn about it, the more I learn how amazing it is. It does work better with certain other things, like you said, the cranial, but homeopathy always has a place.
Yes. So my view is that homeopathy is the best vehicle that I have seen so far in aiding the vital force and in doing what it's supposed to be doing anyway. That begs the question, what is the potential of the vital force? Let's take a look. Some of us have the idea that that what we do with homeopathy is due to the action of the medicine. I don't think that's true. I think the medicine helps us get to the place where we were supposed to be anyway. So imagine the most miraculous healings of infectious disease, like some of the historical cases. We have historical cases of, like, I think Andre Sain has published a couple of them, where homeopaths have like cured cases that even conventional allopathic medicine can't really touch, like rabies. So there are multiple cases of, oh, this person had rabies. We gave them these remedies. They got better and everything. Not that I'm advising people not to do. Rabies is serious. So that is not a thing to mess around with. But we have multiple cases of this. We have multiple cases of these absolutely fundamental mental emotional shifts. We have cases of profound healing from infectious disease and physical ailments that boggle the mind. What if this is not the action of the remedy? What if the remedy just helps the human vitality do what it's supposed to be doing anyway? What if that is the innate capacity of the human vital force? So I would like to thank Dean Radin. I've been a fan of his, and every so often he'll make a new YouTube lecture and I'll watch it. These are all, so Dean Radin's a parapsychologist, and he's very evidence-based. He's very data-driven, so he can back all of this stuff up. I'm less familiar. We're going to go into a little bit of the data on this, but based on his research and the research of a number of other parapsychologists, we can, in fact, and our vitalities can sense information beyond the senses, beyond the touch, the hearing, the taste, the smell, the everything. We can affect physical reality. And we are, in fact, not only we are doing this all of the time without realizing it. This effect extends from the past and into the future. One of the most famous prayer experiments ever was when they randomized two groups of people. One of them got prayer and one of them didn't. And the people that got prayer did a lot better. but it was in the past. So they prayed for all the patients and all the outcomes and everything that were completely randomized, but they were like a couple of years in the past. And the patients still got better. Like they still did better than the other people, like matched to condition and everything. So it moves through time and everything. And then the other thing is the Global Consciousness Project, which I'm very fond of. So I'm going to see this. I think I might be in a little bit of a thing there. Okay. So there we go. You can see it. So that is from the interview at the bottom right there. This is basically a series of random number generators that are scattered around the planet, and they're supposed to generate random numbers. And it turns out when things happen in the human consciousness, these random generators become not so random anymore. There are autocorrelations that occur. This is September 11th, 2001, and we can see this probability just start to spike afterwards. These random number generators are happening. These random number generators are happening. And so that nobody's thought beaming at them or anything. Most people don't know they exist. Nobody's trying to alter them, but something, when human consciousness en masse gets disrupted, there's an effect that occurs. We are influencing reality in ways that we do not realize and that we are mostly unconscious of. At this moment, we do have high quality scientific evidence that humans do have extended abilities, and they are mostly used unconsciously, particularly in the angelosphere. So the angelosphere, I don't know if you guys use that in Australia. It's a term in the English speaking part of the world and part of the country. So what if we had a system of consciously cultivating these abilities? And many cultures do. Australia actually does have a number of indigenous cultures that have these systems of cultivating these abilities still intact. Not all of them made it through colonialism, not all of them made it in Canada, but there are still some that are there. The Tibetan I've studied with a lot, and they are probably the most intact that I've seen on in terms of large scale cultures. So I'm going to focus on them for a little bit. This is a ceremony. It is a screenshot from a documentary that's free on YouTube called Tibet, the Path to Wisdom by Slice. And it is a series, these are the nuns of Gompa Gebchak. So these nuns are masters of Tumo. Basically, it is a yoga, and I've studied it myself, where you use your breath to amplify the energy in your body. And this has a side effect. It's not the point, but it's a side effect of creating heat. So these nuns will go out in -40, and they will, like, -40 Celsius, and then they will go and have these wet sheets wrapped around them, and they will walk around their nunnery a bunch of times. And each time they walk around, they have to have fresh wet sheet that's put on them. So again, this is really cold. And this is their test. This is like, all right, you pass the test, you can practice the yoga of secret of divine fire or divine heat, or there's a bunch of ways of translating it, but they do this. So this is relatively famous practice in Tibet and around the world, because people are like, wow, it's a physiological thing, you can measure it. There's actually a bunch of studies on PubMed of people measuring this and doing this and everything. And I can tell you, I've been learning it for the last 10 weeks. It is not hard to learn. This thing comes easily to me, but most people can get the basics of it. This is a physiological capacity that people have and that we are just not using.
Whenever I hear things like cold plunges or wrapping wet towels around you in -40 degrees Celsius, I'm like, I don't want to attain like higher consciousness that badly.
You don't have to do that. And
Okay.
I know it's funny. I do hydrotherapy. We use a lot of cold therapy, and that is past the realm of hydrotherapy. That is more than what we do. So the Tibetan idea of enlightenment bears looking into here. So the Tibetan worldview, that's actually ironically shared between all the schools of Tibetan religion, holds that enlightenment, as they would term it, natural mind, semyi, is inherent to all sentient beings, unaltered by circumstance or time. It is there in a schizophrenic just as much it is there in a jellyfish, just as much it is there in an octopus, just as much it is there in a baby, just as much as it is there in someone with Alzheimer's, just as much as it is in there with someone who's relatively mentally stable at the time. To
Plants as
manifest,
well?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Maybe some plants.
Definitely all the higher animals, but to manifest, you need is a condition of the channel system. Tibetan physiology, they see the body as a web, as a net of channels. To move from the normal human state to an embodied Buddha is to move from one configuration of channels, one configuration of the vital force, as I would say in vitalistic terms, to another. And various practices like Trulkor, which is Tibetan yoga, Salam, and most of the secret yogas stem from this idea. And here's a picture of kind of that net of channels. Tibetans don't draw pictures. That like all of their manuals are like, oh, here are these channels, here are these channels. And I'm like, I want to see a picture of it. And there are no pictures. I'm like, here's one that was commissioned. It was by Lowell Guinness, who wrote this really fantastic book called The Rainbow Body. That is, in fact, the ultimate fruit of this. So this is another one of the pictures that he commissioned for it. The ultimate aim of these practices is that when people die, or sometimes very rarely beforehand, their bodies will physically dissolve. So the Tibetan custom is called tukdam. So basically, you do this meditation at the end of life, and then you stay in meditation posture, and your pulse ceases, but your channels keep flowing for a couple of days. And then when your channels flow, then you're really dead. And then during that time, this time when you're in tukdam, it's like all of your state falls away, all of the nonsense, all of your own crap falls away, and you're in this state of automatic enlightenment. And if you maneuver that properly, just you're done. You're free from reincarnation. And the people who are really good at this, who master some of these secret yogas, their bodies physically dissolve. And the thing is, this does seem to happen. It is reported every year or two that this happens in Tibet. And it probably happens more frequently. It's just a lot of places in Tibet are pretty remote and we don't hear about things. But so typically the thing is people will go into tukdam. They will be left in a meditation posture. And the custom is you leave them in there until either they start to smell or until the body physically starts to decompose. And sometimes they stay in there for a couple of weeks, and sometimes the body just disappears. So this happens every year or two. Does this remind you of anything?
You're talking about Walwitchia.
Yeah, this is oddly, people have noted a great deal that there's a similarity to the transfiguration and resurrection of Jesus in the Western tradition. And there are, in fact, a number of people that are like, oh my God, is this actually the same thing? And I actually think there may have been something to that. So the main teaching in Bön, which is the pre-Buddhist religion of Tibet, on this topic is called the Six Lamps. And one of the ideas is that your eyes are like this lamp. And when you connect your heart to your eyes, and then you start seeing these visions. And this is Matthew 6:21-23. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are body, your whole body will be full of darkness. If the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? That could be straight out of the Six Lamps. So I have a suspicion that there was a wider tradition that was spread throughout Eurasia, and maybe Jesus studied it and was just really good at it. Who knows?
See, that's why I love talking to you. You just
These are the
are
things
able
that go
to
on in my head.
grasp all these different ideas and draw correlations. It's great.
So yeah, no, I found that one, or another author found that. I'm like, yeah, and I will say this is not a bad translation. The word in Greek is lyknos. Lyknos is literally lamp or like a torch or something like that. So that is not a bad translation from Greek. So that is really what it meant. It does translate quite well. And the word in Tibetan also translates into lamp. So this is not a case of overlapping bad translations. The meaning is actually quite similar. What if all of these remarkable states were not the fruit of magic or divine intervention or advanced meditative efforts? What if they were the natural functioning of the human vitality? And these practices merely just helped us get there. Can homeopathy not do the same thing? This is my map. This is the table of animals. This is showing the developmental scheme that humans move throughout our life. We start with phase 1, where we're, okay, am I me? Am I you? Do I really exist here? And you find the sponges, the ctenophores, the lancelets, the tunicates, the hemichords, lac humanum, and lac maternum in there. Kind of phase or layer or column or series 2. It's, okay, where do I start and where do you begin? Where does the barrier between the two of us come in? There's really a big sense of like separateness and barriers and everything. And there we get the cnidaria, the brachiopods, the echinoderms, the fish. So the fish, there's two kinds of fish. There's cartilaginous fish, which are in here, and the ray-finned fish, which are like, they got those little webby fins and everything else like that. And in terms of human remedies, we got Vernix caseosa. Number 3, okay, I'm separate. Who am I? We've got the annelids, the bryozoans, the nematodes, the amphibians, turtles, oh god, the lizards and snakes, and the crocodiles in there. And we've got Meconium humanum and the carcinos and remedies in there. 4, okay, so I'm me. How do I deal with this? How do I build myself a little nest, a little thing to be safe and to perpetuate my life and my life of my family and all that? So we get the mollusks, the dinosaurs, and placenta as a remedy. After that, we get Okay, so I got my nest. Everything's good. Oh, but look, there's people out there and they're different. Oh, how do I deal with that? Find a lot of people on the internet right now. Everyone in Canada is like, I feel like I'm a foreigner in my own country. All these people are so different. They're in column 5. They just can't deal with people being different than them. That is a struggle that they were going to have to go through. Good remedy might help. A lot of rust talks needed for that. Remedies in this from the animals are the platyhelminths, most of the arthropods, and aqua amniota. Then we get column 6, which is like, all right, I can deal with different people. How do we order society? Like rules and law and order and justice. Justice is a big one with that one. What is fair and what is not? You get the beetles and the bees in here, the mammal remedies, and umbilicus. And then you get column 7. Column 7 is okay, society's doing its thing. What is my place in this? What is my unique calling? What is my gift? What do I have to contribute here to reality, to the universe, and everything else? What is my calling? So in here we find the butterflies and the flies. And the birds this chart is a little simplified because some of the more primitive birds go into column 6 and some of the more advanced ones kind of start to bridge into column 8. And I didn't put a human remedy here, but it is sanguis humanum, so human blood.
Oh,
It's a SAR code we have. And then column 8 is not on here because there aren't really any animals there, but some of the passerine birds start to go in there. So some of the more like the songbirds go in there and is all about this expansion of consciousness beyond your own individual self. And we get in there the actinides, the fungi, and some birds.
wow.
This pattern is repeated. So this is Michal Yakir's expanded plant table with some of the more primitive plants. And we are all familiar, hopefully, with Jan Scholten's work. In light of that, humans are on this developmental journey. And these abilities that I was talking about earlier, I think they're inherent to humanity. And if we really cleared out a lot of the miasms, I think we'd start manifesting them at a much earlier age. But typically, they start to really pop in if you're in a healthy state in these more advanced column 7, column 8 places. And homeopathy will get you there. It may take a while, but it'll get you there. So we're going to look at 3 remedies in regard to that. Welwitschia, Bombacilla, and Myanthemum stellatum. Just a word on this. The trituration movement has been used in trituration, grinding and scraping of a remedy. It's been used since Hahnemann's time. Should do a really proper lecture on the history of trituration one day. It's really fun. But in the 90s, Witold Erler began using it as a proving method and found that remedies were created from triturations that were higher than the traditional third one actually have different properties. And you started getting new information and everything. Witold systematized these levels somewhat, and then Kim Kalina and myself, did a more thorough job. Witold's levels, he came up with the C levels. C refers to carbon, which is one of his early triturations, and he named every level of trituration after a particular C1. He came up with this system, and I do detail this in one of my books. I believe it's Resurrection of the Vital Force. C1, 1 hour of trituration, had an affinity to the physical. C2, emotional. C3, mental. C4, the spiritual, which was a synthesis of the past 3. And that's very true. You will often go through this kind of mental, emotional, physical on a certain level, and then the 4th will be a synthesis of the 2. C5 was kind of family level. C6, more archetypical or cultural. C7 would be more legend, myth, and country. And then C8 would be more transcendent source, and you might call it species.
I missed the part that you said what he says the C stands for.
Carbon. It's one of the carbon things. So Witold
Ah,
had a form of carbon that corresponded to every level as well.
okay.
Yeah, I read some of his original work, and I don't know if he's just on this other level that I can't comprehend or if it's just really crappily translated. But there's a lot of the time when I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? And it's me saying that. So I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
You
always
know,
quite get what he's talking about. So
it's either a genius or a madman.
I feel that way about Scholten sometimes too. There's times when I just like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? But then he'll move on a little bit and I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
I feel that about you.
I'm
but
sure many people
but I
feel that
know
about.
you are a genius because, like I said, I always feel inspired when I speak to you. And I think if somebody can challenge your way of thinking and make you think outside the box, I think that's a gift. And so I love talking to you.
Thank you, Eugenie. The next one. So this is Kim Kalina's. Oh, did I put it in here? Oh, I don't think I did. Oh dear. Anyway, you'll have to use your imaginations then. So me and Kim, we found that triturations come in sets of four. 1 to 4 is more individually focused. 5 to 8 is more collectively. 9 to 12 more on the planetary level. 13 to 16 on the solar system level. And yes, this does track out. I've done this. There are these vast affinities that come out when you go up this high. 17 to 20 is more galactic. 21 to 24 universal. 25 to 28 multiversal. Kim stopped there, but I went further. And 29 to 32 was a bit more eternal, a higher level of reality, but still has problems. And then 33 to 36 was more eternal and incorruptible. So I've gone up that high. If you've read, some of my triturations are published, and you can go up that high with me. Most of these have gone up to that level. I think the lowest was Bombacilla, which only went up to 32. This is Bombacilla. Basically, it is a little passerine bird. They were native to North America. This one actually flew into a window and died in front of me. Usually when that happens, I'm like, okay, this needs to be a remedy and everything. So I took a feather and that was it. There's another remedy that when animals want to be remedies, they tend to die in front of me. So we have these little things here called Richardson's ground squirrels. They're like little golfers, and they're very good about staying away from dogs. They know dogs are the enemy and everything. Then one day on a particular energetic activation, one was just not fast enough and my dog got him. And I was just sitting there screaming and my dog was super happy with himself. But then I got my head that he was really dead. So I just took a hair sample and apologized and did a bardo right for him and then just made the thing into a remedy and everything. And I was Eurychitellus richardsoni, which is in my mammals book. And then there's another bird that died in front of me a couple of years ago that I made into a remedy that is in my bird book that will be published there. So this happens to me. They're lovely little birds. They really love rowan or mountain ash berries, as we call them here. I think they're called them sorbus species, and they're in the rose family. And I triturated it myself between October to November of 2023. So, Bombacilla. This is the more conventional homeopathic picture. It is a being that feels the need to broadcast an inner song, which is an internal energy, out into the world. This is very passerine. The passerine birds do this. They have this inner thing that they just need to express out. They perceive the world as dull and gray. They identify this dull grayness particularly with heteronormativity. So just you're a man, you're a woman, you get married, you have kids, you do a 2 picket white fence, the woman stays at home, the man works, the man's in charge, that kind of crap. And they contrast that with themselves and color and vibrancy and living. And quite often sexual minorities, or there's such things. So they will be, as we call them, as people say about themselves nowadays, they're queer, or they're a gender minority, or they're trans, or they're gay, or they're something. So there's this thing there. They feel energetically different and they need their physical bodies to match this energy feeling, this difference, in order to vibrate out this feeling. Or they get sick, really sick. What happened up a lot in this proving was immune deficiencies, sometimes just chronic infections like Epstein-Barr or something like that, or fungus or mold, but sometimes even up to the extent of HIV and like really AIDS and critical immune deficiencies like that. And eventually it started really physically breaking down their joints and they started being immobile. And everything is being made worse by violence. These people, they're visibly gay, visibly minority in some way, visibly a certain religion. They look different. Mm-hmm. And this tends to attract a lot of opposition and fighting, and particularly physical violence. So imagine a lot of these infections that are made much, much worse by being beaten or being physically violent or being physically bullied and everything like that. So, topical remedy, is it not?
Absolutely. Have you used it like after the trituration? Have you used it in clinic yet?
Yes, I have, but not as a constitutional yet. Mm. I have used some of my remedies as constitutionals. I can tell you about, I will have a case ready for you whenever I do actually get my bird book done. I've got a really good case of Opisthocomus hoatzin, the stink bird, which is a remedy I made myself.
Wow.
I don't even really know how I got it, but it was a great remedy. My patient's very glad that she got it. The Bombacilla takeaways. These are the higher, so I'm not going to explain the whole trituration for you guys. Probably going to publish it eventually, but this is just, I finished transcribing it like a week ago, so it's not published yet. But humans have cycles of maturation. We call them puberty, second maturation, which is when your brain turns on in your 20s. I don't know if you remember that, Eugenie. I remember it literally. It was like, click, oh, I'm grown up now. Third maturation, which is people joke on the internet and call it second puberty. It's in your mid 30s when things start to slow down. And your fourth, which is menopause or andropause. As we mature, the vitality changes. It opens up. It becomes bigger and more vaster and more powerful. Ideally, we open two sets of chakras, not two chakras, two sets of chakras per maturation. And those flow into the energy, into the etheric body, as they call it in Theosophy. And I call it the vital body. It's the same thing, strengthening it and changing its properties. There are also advanced maturations past menopause and andropause as well. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. I finally found this is the etheric body. You can see this little glowy thing around this lady. I used to use a picture, and there's this one lady, and she's standing up like this, and her boobs are hanging out and everything. And I'm like, no, I don't like this. I started, so this is nice, no boobs showing and anything, but this is what it looks like. And again, I will emphasize chakra sets. The 7 chakras that people talk about in contemporary New Age thing those are for one spectrum of energy. And each spectrum of energy that we integrate has an entire set of chakras. And sometimes there's more, sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 30. There's a lot of different numbers that kind of go along with each set. And there needs to be some mapping out from clairvoyants that are more gifted than I am, because I'm not good with that, and making it all into a picture. And the 7 chakras that we usually deal with are one of them. Ironically enough, and they all connect at these things, and I call them chakra complexes, and there's about 5 of them. And do you know who works with chakra complexes? The Tibetans. I don't know how they call them 5 chakras, but they're 5 chakra complexes they're working with. And like they saw the same thing that I was seeing, and I had no idea about that until I started learning from them. I'm like, oh, yay.
Makes me wonder with particularly HRT, women who use HRT during menopause, how that would be suppressing the opening of those chakras. And I'm sure there's probably things that we're doing as young girls when they're going through puberty, they first get their period and they go straight onto the contraceptive pill. That
Oh,
would
I've got
probably,
some thoughts on that.
yeah.
So that's a fun aside. So you ever see a young girl and she's like Malala, she's going to take on the world. I'm going to make a better life for everyone before puberty. And then after puberty, she's, oh, look at that boy over there. Oh, wow. I was like that. But that is estrogen. If you look at the proving of folliculinum, which is, I believe, estradiol, it is this I will be whatever you want me to be thing. What do we do if people aren't like that? We give them hormones. We make them more what we want them to be. What happens in menopause? Your estrogen, it doesn't go down to nothing, but it does go down. Suddenly, you've been what everyone else wants you to be, your kids, your boss, society, your friends, everything. And then you're like, your estrogen goes down. You're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. What happens? You get a lot of people getting really mad. You get a lot of people leaving their spouses or anything. You get a lot of people just, oh, whatever, like quitting their jobs and going off and doing whatever and everything. That is estrogen. And what do we do as a society? You know what you need? You need more estrogen. So you need to keep you being what everyone else wants for a while. So that's the real tragedy. And I haven't triturated folliculinum yet, but I think I'd really like to, because I know there's a healthy state in there somewhere. I know that the human vitality did not design women to be like clay for everyone else to mold around them. I just don't quite know how that works yet. And I know this is the pathological state we're seeing.
It's going to be an amazing remedy. It's something I use in clinic all the time, but also with all the xenoestrogens in our environment as well. That would be a remedy, because I'm assuming that the one that we commonly buy from the pharmacies are probably only a C3.
Yeah, if
So
that.
if that, so if we were to triturate it up to C32 or something like that, would be profound.
Yeah, it's on my list. So I have a long list. A boy doesn't kiss and tell, but I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm up to right now. There we go. It's my joke. It's like, oh, I'm up to something. And I am, in fact, up to something most of the time. So what I also learned in Bombacilla was that there's a level of self of the mind. The Tibetans call it the kunzi, or that true enlightened mind that's always there. And you naturally connect to it as one goes into one's mid 30s in that third maturation. And it retunes one's energy channels to these higher eternal energies. And ironically enough, the Tibetans do this. They know how to do this. They do it through their own mat patterns and everything else like that, and their own ways of doing things and their own cultural context, but they can do this. This process is blocked by, I call it miasm 7. So in there you get the Lyme complex, pneumococcinum, rabies, ureaplasma, and likely a bunch of other things. I think polio, but I'm not sure about that. There's a bunch of diseases that block that, miasms that block this. This connection transforms your energy body, that vitality, into a higher form. You bring more and more of those energy spectra on, you turn on more chakra systems. They're tuned to a proper eternal source now, so you're not picking up whatever crap is floating around the environment. And they combine together to create this unified auric particle. So all these energy spectra smush together into one particle, and then you get a physical part of your body in there. And I think that's what transfiguration is. When you talk about the transfiguration of Jesus, or when you talk about the transfiguration or the dissolving into luminosity, that adepts of the rainbow body display. This is what I think this is. This is
It's
what I
kind of
think happened.
timely. Bird would, yeah, just fly into the way that it offered itself to be triturated as well. It's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
It had to form part of the remedy picture for sure.
And let's not forget the Western tradition as well.
Mm.
Our vitality has a mode in which it can engage all of the miasms and start degrading them. And your maturation speeds up to reach where one should be. And transfiguration starts to go again, just automatically. You can either bardo out, we'll talk about bardo in a second, or you can carry this with you from life to life and slowly transfigure fully and engage in the higher maturations. We'll talk about those. And it becomes heritable. Your kids will get it. And if you administer this on a population level, what happens? The Tibetans are almost on this level where they did it through meditation. There are a number of cases where someone will just get a rainbow body and they never meditated in their life. They're like a nomad that's associated with the thing, and nobody ever gave them teachings, but whoop, they disappeared when they died. Whoa. The Tibetans are almost there. We can do this probably on a population level. If we administer this remedy, just give everyone a dose once in their life and everything, and it starts setting it off, and it will make them a lot healthier just in general. It will engage this multi-miasmatic mode throughout the rest of their life. It has been administered on a planetary level. The Earth does have a vital force and a consciousness and a very vibrant personality. And I gave Earth this remedy, and it is, all these energies are going to happen. This is going to happen to the planet, and it's going to flow through the planet over the next couple of thousand years. So we can administer it whenever we want to. It's a really good as a constitutional or as an intercurrent. If you do this, Bombacill agaricus does exist as a C3 remedy. I don't think the C3 remedy is going to do this. You're going to want to use my C32, and it is used in baptism. It was actually recommended during the trituration to be used in baptism water. Just throw a couple pills in there when you're baptizing your kid, or when you're doing some kind of rite of passage with water. That would actually be really nice.
That is cool.
I've never heard of a remedy to be used in baptism water. No, I lied. I think one of the Guild of Homeopathic remedies in, what's her name? Those little, the purple and the blue books. I forget their names. Some of the early Guild of Homeopaths books, there's one remedy they suggested for that, and I forget which one it was, but they did suggest that, so I'm lying.
That's what I mean when you said at the start, what can homeopathy use for? I just feel like it's everywhere, like literally everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it is, homeopathy is useful for anything the vital force is getting involved in, which is virtually anything. This is Welwitschia. If you're an English speaker, Eugenie and me did a really good interview on Welwitschia a couple months ago, and it's on her website, or it's on her podcast list, so go check it out. It is a seed plant from
Namibian.
Namibia desert, thank you, right around your home
Yeah, not
territory of
too
Africa.
far. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's also
and
called Kaniduit, which means can't
yeah,
die.
and indeed, it is nearly immortal.
Mm.
It looks like it's dying, but it can't die. And that really goes into the picture of it. It's also very interesting because it has proto flowers, proto nectar, and it's insect pollinated. So it is part of this bridge between the ancient plants and the modern plants. Not a direct ancestor, but there was a bunch of experimenting happening, and one of the branches was Welwitschia, and another branch became modern flowering plants. Michal Yakir and I did this together. We started in 2022, and then I didn't think it was done. I did it November to December of 2023, and it is really important. The basic picture is living death. Very advanced pathologies, but with no pain and suffering. Generally, these are older people. They're overridden by infections, but there's little clinical evidence. These people will have frank bacteremia, frank septicemia, and you're like, nothing's wrong with them. Like, they don't look sick. They can also have really profound mold colonization and quite often other chronic infections. I've found this remedy to be very helpful in people with Lyme or Epstein-Barr or mold, and they're just, you do basic work with them and they're not getting better. Sometimes this will click them out of it. Neil Nathan, he's a very gifted MD who talks about the cell danger response being all these conditions activate this cell danger response, which just makes you feel super stressed out and prevents healing. This is one of the remedies that kind of pops people out of the cell danger response. They're also pretty lucid. They will also kind of start dying anytime they get any higher energies influxing into their vitalities. I had a religious experience, dead kind of thing. They automatically have this process of, I term Bardo, we're getting into that, that they cannot have these higher energies without that getting prematurely activated. Wonder who put that into the human vital force. It's often a person that is just these horrible pathologies but just can't die. And they're just sitting there decomposing, mold growing on them and inside them, just falling apart until they finally just, life cannot be sustained. The implications of Welwitschia. And that is not how humans are supposed to go. In every body that we come into, and I think reincarnation is a thing, we invest a little bit of our higher energies into these, and we don't have an infinite supply of these. When we run out, our vitalities do fragment a little bit, and this creates a slow dissolution of the soul that occurs over multiple lifetimes and everything. And you just end up being this little spark of consciousness, and you have to restart everything all over again in an organism that you can restart in. And like sponges are really good for that. Like sponges, lots of beings will start and they'll just have a couple lifetimes as a sponge, and then they'll go up and maybe be a mollusk for a little while, and they'll just do stuff like that. Without a human body that has at least that chakra system 8, I give them numbers, that should be matured around menopause, andropause, we can't really initiate this automatic death process that does occur with humans. Like there's a process that we go through that enables us to reclaim all of the energy we've invested in this body. And I suspect also vaporize it like the Tibetans occasionally do. I think that's how we're supposed to go out. Just never mind dying young and leaving a good looking corpse, like die spiritually mature and leave no corpse. I think this does not occur because these chakra systems are blocked. If we turn this back on again, we will start to reclaim these aspects of ourselves. We will start to reclaim these energies that we've left behind in previous bodies, and we will start to do this a little more often. Now, I would love to do an experiment. So I would love to go to a monastery in like Dalangi or the Himalayas or something, just give, I don't know, you could do a double-blind placebo-controlled study. It's like, all right, all of you get this remedy, and then all of you get placebo, and we're just going to see who gets the rainbow body and who doesn't. That would be really fun. It would be super
That would be
fun too.
interesting.
The other thing being is that if we do not do this, if we do not go through this process, then we have a lot of like parts of ourselves left behind and a lot of like attachments and dirt and stuff attached to us that necessitate reincarnation. It doesn't become a choice anymore. Then it becomes, oh, I gotta do this again and again and again. And that is in the Dharmic traditions, samsara, compelled or forced reincarnation. I think using this and using these remedies, we can get ourselves to the point where we are freed from samsara, are freed from reincarnation within the context of a single human lifetime, and at the end of that, no matter how many maturations we can do, we can extract the energy from this body, whether we dissolve it or not. We can extract the energy from this body and go on and not be bound to any particular sphere of reality or to any particular anything. It becomes a choice, and we can do whatever we want to after that. This is my thinking of what this remedy does.
Wow.
Oh, so this is a remedy to give people before they die. And in addition to that, clinically, it will make death less painful. Death should be quick, automatic, fearless, everything. It should not be this. We tend to think of death in Western medical terms as this slow cessation of function and the body just breaks down, which is a function of the Western medical view of the body as a machine. The body is not a machine. The body is a vital whole. When it engages the death mode, boom, it's fast. It is painless. It is done. It is something that is done deliberately. And we are not doing this because we don't have the chakras open and we are too damn unhealthy to die properly in most instances.
I'll quickly interject there, Paul. You sent me this remedy a little while ago, and end of April, my mum had very late stage cancer. So I flew over to South Africa to be with her, and I took your remedy with me. And I was there for a week, and it was just a matter of any day that she was going to go. And I couldn't get myself to give her which I think partly it was a little bit of selfishness because I kind of didn't want her to go in that week that I was there. I wanted to have every moment that I could with her. I gave her arsenicum 10 and that was actually incredible to witness that, because so often we hear about homeopathy for end stage of life, but you don't often get to witness it. And I will never forget that vision of her being so restless, couldn't get a comfortable spot, like moving around. Gave her arsenicum 10 and she was just lying still, and it was just so peaceful to watch. But after I left, my really lovely sister-in-law, who's actually a nurse and really
Oh,
into natural health and loves homeopathy, she gave Walwich to my mum. So, and she passed away a few days after that. So it'll be interesting to know, have a chat with her on the other side. Now she's on the other side, and just to hear from her. What did you think of the remedy? I'd love to pick her brains.
I would love to hear from her on that. That's the ultimate thing. But yeah, that's the situation it should be from. And we as homeopaths have done this before. There is a lot of remedies that do this, like Tarantula cubensis and arsenicum and carboveg. We're all very famous for this. There's a lot of good stuff we can do there.
It's exciting to have another remedy added to that list. It's really
Yeah.
exciting, and I really love this. You're going to talk to us a bit more about Bardo, and yeah, I think you've already mentioned a bit about it, but it's exciting to think that there's a homeopathic remedy that we can use that can clear some of this. And
Yeah. Again, there's a well witchy out there that is made from the C3. I think it's a great remedy. It is probably not going to do this. Please use my C36 preparation. So the last remedy I want to talk about today is my Anthemum stellatum. This just grew wild in my backyard when I had a single detached house, and I took some and I just preserved it. And then one day I was just like, you know what? It's time for you. Indeed it was. The acute picture is very Liliaceae. You've done something wrong. And not just something like, oh God, I tripped and spilled my drink, or not, oh fuck, I scratched somebody's car I went too close to their car. No, you did something really wrong. There was a picture of great fundamental messing up, dirt, contamination, and a stain on the vitality. This is in true Liliaceae fashion projected outwards. You see the brilliance of yourself, which indeed is real, but you're just, oh, the stain. No, they have it. You have it so badly. Oh my God, I see you are dirty and filthy, and I'm freaking awesome. Ha. That is the Liliaceae picture. It's everything wrong with you and introspective, because you sustain seeing the stain and seeing your own brilliance at the same time, so that the stain goes towards other people. Which is where you see things like Veratrum album, and where they are freaking awesome and everything else, which is really a lot of the people talk a lot about narcissists nowadays. Veratrum album really fits that. It's, I'm amazing. Everything is your fault. You suck. You're a terrible when they just can't stand looking at the self and seeing, oh, I did something wrong. It's a very useful remedy. It's really good for narcissistic personality disorders and certain types of bipolar and things like that. So that's aside, that's the lilies. The stains are weaknesses in the vitality caused by actions that are outside of human nature. You might say outside of divine right order, which I think is the same as human nature. It permits a kind of dust pervading the multiverse to stain us. So you do these things that are outside of human nature, that are outside of divine right order, same thing. And that creates a weakness in the vital force, and this dust gets in and saturates. The trituration, which I finished about a month and a half ago, so it is not transcribed yet, and my high triturations are like 50 pages. It takes me a while to get done them, but it was all about this dust. This dust is the same thing as karma. This is karma. This is actually not a unique idea. The Jains really have detailed this quite effectively. This dust is the particles of degraded beings, spirits, fragmented spirits that have degraded eternal particles, and it is really the fuel that keeps the universe as we know it going, as opposed to higher universes, which actually work really well. They don't. It's like running on a really dirty combustion engine versus just having some future magic technology Star Trek crap that just runs and doesn't give it. Like, that's the analogy I'm using. Humans have an inherent ability to metabolize this and to heal this dust, sending it back to that higher reality. But it's this is the slow mechanism of suffering and living karma. We just suffer through it for millennia and millennia, lifetime after lifetime. I will say it can be accelerated by austerities, penances, and asceticisms. So if you ever see Europeans going around in the Middle Ages, going around and whipping themselves, like that's what they were doing. They were speeding up their karmic processing in the most painful way. And there are meditations that you can do to do this. The alleviate, you can also treat this with homeopathy. You can actually get it to metabolize a lot faster with homeopathy. You don't have to suffer. And this was the vision of Thomas Maun. So have you ever heard of Thomas Maun?
No.
Oh, he was really critical in founding the British homeopathic profession. He taught like a bunch of people of
You
like
know what? I think I might have been. Was he one of the remaining ones after they had that plane crash and so many of the, or was he on the
I
plane
don't
crash? I
know
know there
about
was all
that.
these UK homeopaths that passed away, that all died in a plane crash, and then there were these, yeah, druids that revived homeopathy.
Yes, he was one of the two
Yeah,
druids.
yeah, actually,
And that was his vision.
yeah, and there was
And it,
Robert Davidson and
yeah,
oh,
it
was it
was,
Robert Miles or I know there was a Miles in there and Davidson in there, and actually I think Morn was
no,
in there as well. And yeah, so I don't know quite the lineage. I'd like to see it all laid out, but
yeah, no. So Thomas Maun, he was the arch druid of Britain. Yes, druids are real. They have an organization. He was the arch druid of Britain, but he also laid the seeds of the British homeopathic profession in the 70s in his classes. And this was his vision, is
okay.
that homeopathy is a mechanism to alleviate karma and to speed person along their evolution. Humans can metabolize this stuff without pain and suffering. So here's just, I got this from Wikipedia. This is just a little chart of the various types of karma in Jainism, and it is just dirt that pollutes your soul. This is, in fact, our deepest nature. We can, by ourselves, clear it out of ourselves, our bodies, our collectives, like our families, our countries, our cultures, our planets, our universe, etc. We can do this if we are in a state of health. And we can rehabilitate this stuff. We can send these little particles back to wherever they belong without even thinking about it. And we can grind down the machinery that keeps our finite, weird universe from chicking, or what's the word, chugging along and not just remerging with the eternal like it perhaps should be. And as a matter of fact, when you use this remedy at a higher level, there's a chakra that can open, and probably a couple of them, but it just literally brings it into a special energetic organ and it just metabolizes it, and you don't suffer at all. And all of your karma is cleaned up. And then you're just like, hey, and you're doing this without even thinking about it. That is human health right there. And that's what I got for you today, Eugenie. So,
Holy moly. Once again, you did not disappoint. That's a lot. It's almost too good to be true, and yet makes complete sense at the same time. Because I do think that as humans like to overcomplicate things.
mhm.
And I think we think that we need to go and, is it sort of self-flagellation or something like that? Like hurting ourselves or going through all these practices. And part of my brain goes, yes, that's what should be done. You can't achieve anything without working hard for it. That's the way that needs to be done. But then also, a part of me feels that is actually really simple. We are just overcomplicating it. So I like the idea of taking a homeopathic remedy rather than walking with wet sheets and minus 40 degrees Celsius to attain enlightenment. I definitely
So
have these two sides that's like really
won't
fighting
say
with
that
each
that
other.
method doesn't work. It does. I just, let's see, it could be easier. Like it could be easier. And who knows, maybe I will. I could do that test. Just walk around my condo complex 4 times and get draped by sheets and everything. Maybe one day I will do that. Just not to achieve enlightenment, just to I pass the test, man.
Just to keep the
Just
neighbors away, if nothing else.
I'll just send a video to my geshe who teaches me. Geshe, aren't you proud of me? I did it. But that's it. Yeah, no, we can do all this stuff very easily. And I do not think this should be restricted knowledge, or I think this should be something that the previous way of teaching that how to do this was very culture specific, and it was a lot of work. And we can get that in a pill now. So
Mm.
like, why wouldn't we?
I like that.
Give it
See,
to
my
someone with
brain is, I literally have this anacardium thing going on at the moment, angel on the one and devil on the other, going.
Mhm.
It feels to me that a lot of in the kind of Instagram generation where they just take shortcuts to get there quick. And I don't know. And then maybe that's the way to go. Like we always think you have to work really hard and then you can earn some money. But you see all these people that just go make a few YouTube videos, go viral, and they're millionaires. And so I really, like I said, it feels like we overcomplicate things. It should be really easy. But then I also, part of me is, but there's so much value in the journey and going through all of that as well. But when I've had the right homeopathic remedy, it was sometimes tricky to explain to a client what the right homeopathic remedy will do for them because you can't really put it into words. When
Mhm.
you find the right homeopathic remedy, suddenly everything becomes clearer and easier and things in a different way. So
Mhm.
maybe I just need to go play around with these remedies myself and take them and see. what happens. And that was my other thing, because we had not long done the interview on Walwitchia when I found out that my mum was passing. So I
Mhm.
was also like a little bit scared of giving it to her and scared of giving it to living clients or clients that are not just about dead. And so that was, maybe it might be worth clarifying what sort of situations we'd use it in clinic.
Which is very safe to use.
Okay, so you're
Uh,
not going to die taking the remedy.
in fact, if someone is in premature bardo, if their self-destruct, their process has been activated early, it will turn it off.
Okay.
If it is not being activated, their body is like, all right, it's done. They'll know, you'll know. It's like, all right, this is happening. They'll be ready. Then it will just make it quicker and easier and painless and everything. You do need to get informed consent about that. Okay, this remedy will maybe speed things up a little bit and everything. But if you're not ready and this is not your time, it's going to stop this nonsense from progressing. So it is very safe to use in that regard. I would not, I have two elderly dogs. I gave them Welwitschia without the slightest hesitation.
Mm.
Like it, when it's good time for them to go, they're gonna go very quickly and easily. They'll be doing it. It's a good. All of these remedies are good things to take in advance. Like Welwitschia, you don't have to wait until you're. It's not like the last rites in Catholicism. You don't have to give it like 20 minutes before the person is dead. You
Mm.
can give it in advance, and it'll still work like in 20 or 30 years when you're ready to go. As a matter of fact, maybe it'll make you have a little bit more time. So you don't need to be afraid of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with any homeopathic remedy, right?
Mhm.
It will always bring balance in whatever way that is. You just suddenly had, as you were saying that, had something pop in my mind. This is probably a case from about 6 years ago, but there was a client who saw me. Her son was about 7 years old, and
Mhm.
he was wanting to live as a girl. And the parents are separated. So the mum was very stressed because the boy would only dress as a girl in her house, not in the dad's house, because he was scared of the backlash. And I gave her a butterfly remedy to give to him. And I said, this will help him be the truest version of himself, whichever that is. If it's to live
Mhm.
as a boy, he'll be happy with that. But if it's to live as a girl, then he'll be happy with that. And the mum didn't end up ever giving him the remedy because she was scared that his version of what's good for him would be that it is a girl. So I was so annoyed because I was really looking forward to seeing what would happen. But I guess this is the thing with any remedy. If there is resonance there, if there's something that needs to be cleared, then
Mhm.
it will do that. So it's not going to kill you if you take these remedies. So it's good to clarify that, because even me as a homeopath with over decades of experience felt a little bit cautious of giving Welwitschia when I shouldn't have, because the remedy, I think it always has our highest interest at heart, right? Like you're giving the remedy and the vital force will do with it what it feels it needs to create balance.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it never happens. If you're respectfully working with these remedies, it is hard to fuck people up. Like it
Mm.
really is. So maybe don't give them 15 times a day immediately on meeting them or something. Maybe you gauge the potency a little bit or something like that. You know, you don't need to be afraid to use them as
Mm.
well. There was one person the other day, I started her on a CM and I was really sure of the remedies. I'm like, all right, let's try 1M, 10M, 50M. Maybe I feel a little bit better at 50M. CM. Oh, so much better. I'm like,
Well,
CM it is. All right, then. You don't need to worry about that. And I suppose some of it is a fraction of the function of the level of consciousness you're at. If you're up here ranging in this C36 world, using a C36 remedy and dealing with these forces, it's just going to come naturally to you.
something we have to address, because otherwise it's going to be a headache of admin for the Autumn of Healing team and myself and you, because people all around the world are going to be asking, where do they get hold of these remedies? And
Mhm.
where's the best places for people to purchase these remedies? So your specific C36 triturations or 32 triturations.
Helios has my Welwitschia.
Mhm.
Your shop has my Welwitschia. INE Organics has my Welwitschia. I am working on getting INE Organics to have Bombacilla and Myanthemum. So they should have them available soon.
I would
So
love to have those two as well, actually, because this is
send them down to me.
something I'm passionate about. And I'm just like putting my own interest here into the show. But people like you that are spending ridiculous amounts of hours triturating these remedies, creating them, writing, it takes so much, like you said, to transcribe all the notes and get all the information out there. And then you hand your remedies to a pharmacy and they make all the money from it. It just drives me crazy. So that's why yourself and Danitza have your remedies on my website, and you receive 10% of each
Yeah.
remedy that we sell. And I wish more pharmacies would do that. And I just feel if we pay, what about $20 or whatever for a remedy here? So
Mhm.
if it's a royalty remedy like yours, we just charge $22 and that $2 goes to you and Danessa for every remedy that you sell. I feel like that is not that hard to do. I feel like it would be easy for Iron Organics or Helios or any of those places to pull a report every 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever. Pull a report of how many of that remedies that you've created they've sold, and
Mhm.
then just send you a check of 10% for every remedy. And if they
Mhm.
say we don't make much on the remedies, charge a couple of dollars or a couple of pounds or a couple of whatever more, and then that goes to you. And I just feel as a community of homeopaths, we need to really respect the work that people like you are doing. Sorry, but I'm not going to go sit there for 36 hours triturating a remedy and writing up 50 pages of notes and then go hand it over. So I don't know how or why you guys are doing it. I think you're a saint, but I really wish this culture would change in homeopathy where we think it's okay for somebody like you to do that. I get really riled up about it. And this has got nothing to do with this talk, but I feel it's something that needs to be mentioned. And I really hope it changes. It really makes me angry.
Thank you for your advocacy on that. I'm doing this to get the remedies out there. I'm doing this because this is just something I do from lifetime to lifetime. I am here to really get Earth evolving manually to achieve my own objectives here. And also, it's funny, I want to be rebirthed into my next life. I think I've only got one lifetime in a human body left before I don't need to reincarnate anymore. And I know I've got this lifetime in my head. I'm going to be a girl in a vitalist family, and then their doctor is going to study like my teachings from this lifetime to help
Oh.
do my medical stuff in that lifetime, so I can actually do a lot of like more than I was able to do in this lifetime because I've got all that stuff gone on. So that is two reasons why I do this. So I think that's going to be in about 100 years or so. So if any of you are around in 100 years, just look up a little tiny blonde girl, Paul. She's going to be quite feisty. But yeah, no, that's it. I do this because I got my agenda. I want Earth to evolve and I want humans on here to be what they were supposed to be, which was achieving enlightenment or Buddhahood or sainthood or moksha or resurrection or whatever you want to call it in the
Mm,
span of a single lifetime, like 30, 40 years and
mm.
everything. That is what I want.
There's
And
no reason why you shouldn't be paid for your work while you're doing that.
no, there's no reason why I shouldn't be
Yeah.
paid doing that. So I
Ex-
do appreciate your advocacy on that.
So talk to me a little bit just also about where's the best place? You said lulu.com to purchase your books. And I know you've got ebooks of most of your books as well, or hard
Yes.
copies.
My books are on lulu.com because amazon.com, there's me advocating for myself. Amazon.com pays me nothing. I
Mm.
published one book and I tried to remove it and I can't. So I am not into this to make Jeff Bezos richer. I am in this to make a nice living for myself
Mm.
and do fund my research and everything. My books are on lulu.com if you want to buy them. The latest one I've published is on Wilwitchia, and so it's the entirety of the transcription of the trituration notes and me just discussing the implications of them for about 15, 20 pages. And my next book is on birds, which is almost done. I know I've been saying that for every single interview we've done. I've got 15 more passerine monographs to do, and it is almost done. It is so close to being done. I can taste it. I can taste
It's going to be amazing.
it.
I just feel it will come out in divine timing. And yeah, the world's definitely ready for more birds. I'm really intrigued to
They're
hear how it goes.
they're ready for organized birds. Let
Mm.
me tell you, because people see birds as this generic schlock of bird, and they're not.
Mm.
Birds are very different from one to another. Like there's a huge difference biologically, energetically, homeopathically from like a cassowary or a rhea or an ostrich to bombacilla. There's a big range in there, and we need to really fine tune it. And maybe back in 2003, and I say this, I have the greatest respect for Jonathan Shore and Annika Hogel and Judy Schriebman, who wrote the initial birds book and everything. In 2003, we could do this. Like, we have 10 bird remedies. This is what a bird is. But now we can say, okay, this is what this specific type of bird does. This is what this specific type of bird does. These are the themes of the birds. This is how they evolve throughout their evolutionary advancement and everything. So we can be a lot more precise, and we have a lot more materia medica to back that up now.
Amazing. Paul, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Always lovely to talk to you. Thank you for asking me for this, Eugenie.